Alright, this is my video for assignment 2 of graphics rendering. For part 1, looking at the colored tips on the star, looking in the DX app. In the vertice array, we will have all of the vertices for the inner square as well as the far points, and the inner square is set to all yellow, and then the points on the far outside are set to blue, red, magenta, and lime. So if we run this, get the blue, red, magenta, and lime in the far corners. And then looking at part 2, which is similar to the first one. Looking down here in the vertices array, we have the same inner vertices for the square, but now there's separate vertexes all together for each outer triangle of the star, which are all set to all blue, red, magenta, or lime. And then the indices pairs are just changed depending on the vertex number. So if we run that, we get the yellow square in the middle and then solid colored triangles on the outside of the star. And if we look at part 3, inside the header file, the symbol vertex has been switched so that color is on top and position is second. We look inside the vertex array, colors come first and then the vertexes are next. And then to adjust for this properly inside of the layout, color has now been put first, starting at byte 0, and position is second following the first element. If you run that, we will get the intended output of colors in each quarters fitting into the gradient. If we look at number 4, in the header file we have the vec position and the int color num and the buffer for the color, and then the color structure with color 2 in it. And inside of the shader file we have the C buffer of the active color, and we have the vertex shader, which just returns the invert, and then the pixel shader, which will return the active color of the pixel number that you're looking at. Looking in the actual application, we have all the same vertices of the star for solid colors on the outside. The size of vertex with our indices, and then here we set the buffer for the C color, and then we create our color and we set the inner circles or the inner square to be yellow and the outer triangles to be red, and we update that resource. And down here on the mouse down, the inner square becomes red and the outer triangles are yellow, and then on mouse up it'll reset back. So if we run that, we can see the update happening. So red triangles on the outside and a yellow square in the middle, and if we click, the colors will switch. That's all for the parts. And then looking at the further work, close these. Looking at the C buffer, or the constant buffer versus the shader constants. The shader constant is all the shader resources stored in buffer memories, and the constant buffer is one type of buffer memory that it could be stored in. You could also have something like a texture buffer. But then looking here, when we change the pixel shader so that it gets wider the farther away or the closer to the outside it gets, if we run this, we get this, instead of having white all around the corners fading back into color, we get it only inside of the triangle. It's because the math and the pixels that are being affected are inside of the pixel shader. So when we compile the shader of our triangle face, we get these values, but since we are not affecting any of these pixels outside here, they are not rendering with the white color. So we do not get the effect that we were looking for. It is white all around inside the box.